Jimvitational Play-ins has concluded now, folks, and we have our two finalists that will be moving on to the main event, along with all the other invites. Our 32-person bracket is complete. Let's go over each of these players, their stories, and what they might bring to the table in this event. First, we have ABR, who is one of the contenders for greatest competitive Pokemon player of all time. With years of consistent results across every single generation of the game, even the modern generations. Despite juggling so many formats, ABR has incredible results in Generation 3 OU, a third place finish in ADV Revival, a third place finish in Kalos Invitational 3, and ABR was the winner of Kalos Invitational 5. However, in Kalos Invitational 6 and 7, ABR had an unexpectedly early exit, and recently ABR has been focusing very much on Generation 1. But with this event on the horizon, I'm sure he has been practicing de-rusting and he's here to make a statement. And I always enjoy watching him play. I feel like he has a great balance of meta teams that also have a little bit of uniqueness sprinkled in. So I look forward to what he cooks up this time around. Altina is another legend of Generation 3 OU, a prolific team builder. One of the main reasons for the renaissance of Claydol was Altina advocating and pushing for that Pokemon to a great extent. And Claydol is considered top tier by most players today. Partially because of this, Altina finished 3rd place in Kalos Invitational 5, but didn't participate in the last 2 Kalos Invitational events, and the last tournament that Altina took part in was Smogon Premier League 2023, with a 2 wins and 4 losses record in that best-of-1 team tournament format. Altina has a fantastic record and a long history with the format, but recent results have been sparse. We will have to see how ready Altina is to face all of these new stars in Gen 3. A lot has changed now. Does Altina still have it? We will find out. Arctic Breeze is one of Gen 3 OU's biggest rising stars in the past few years. Making an absolute splash in Kalos Invitational 6, Arctic was a play-ins invite who made it into the main event and had an impressive 6-3 record in that tournament, which is a fantastic invitational debut. Arctic has a very unique approach to team building and a unique view of the game, building a lot of sandless, more defensive teams. Arctic believes that Blissey is the #1 Pokemon in the metagame, is a big fan of choices like Articuno, and has cooked up some really unique Gengar sets with like Curse Rest and stuff like this. So, a very out-the-box thinker that views the game in a very different way to everybody else. Definitely an innovator. In the past year, Arctic Breeze has not been too active, but we'll see if he is on form this time around and what he has in store. BIHI is a very accomplished player outside of Gen 3, mostly known for Generation 4 OU in particular, but has a solid track record in other generations too. Began playing ADV in 2023, and has performed solidly in SPL for the past 2 years. BIHI is pretty new to Gen 3 OU relatively speaking, but with all of that fundamental Pokemon knowledge from experience in other generations, has been a real rising star, quickly becoming a very formidable opponent, and I'm excited to see what BIHI has in store here. Conflict is an absolute legend of competitive singles, a Smogon mainstay, and a very respected player. Not a Gen 3 main, is best known for Generation 2 OU, but has played all generations at a high level, and won the Smogon Classic tournament, which is a multi-generational tournament, as early as last year. This year, Conflict was thrust into the ADV slot of SPL, and performed very well with a 5-2 record. And Conflict has also broken 1900 ELO on the ladder, which is an incredible achievement that only a handful of players can say they have done. Up next we have Cowboy Dan. Cowboy Dan is a major player in the cowboy scene. A rather old school player, was the champion of Kalos Invitational 2, that was back in 2018. Cowboy Dan is a bit of a mysterious figure, has long periods of inactivity with the game, but always comes back, shows that he's a great player, and then disappears again. A very exciting player with a flashy and aggressive playstyle, usually from what I've seen, so looking forward to seeing him in action once again. CyberOdin I kind of think of as a bit of a friendly rival to myself. I always seem to face him on the ladder and in tournaments. Really enjoy his playstyle and his team building style, with a big affinity for sets like Mixed Zapdos and Focus Punch Gengar. He's got a couple of Pokemon sets named after him, like Odin Gar. CyberOdin has been invited to many ADV invitationals, but has yet to make a deep run in them, getting another chance here. And CyberOdin always seems to use the same handful of similar teams with a very consistent style he prefers, which can sometimes make him a little bit exploitable. People can counter-team him more easily for that reason, so we'll see if maybe this time he chooses to mix it up a bit. Whatever happens, I wish him good luck. Empo is one of Smogon's most decorated players, multiple-time champion of many of Smogon's biggest tournaments, but this is his debut in a Gen 3OU Invitational. Empo has limited Gen 3OU experience compared to some of these other players, has played in ADVPL for the past 2 years, but in his limited time with the format has had excellent results, definitely picking up the format very quickly, and will be a formidable foe in this tournament. Endill was one of the play-ins gamers who made it into the main event of Callus Invitational 5 and ended up getting a top 8 finish, which was very impressive. Endill has also had strong results in the Smogon Gen 3OU tournaments, recently finishing 3rd in the ADV Winter Seasonal. Another player that has sporadic periods of inactivity, but has been active recently. I look forward to seeing how he does. Fakes is a consistently solid player. Fakes was the winner of the 2021 ADV Global Championship, placed 4th in Callus Invitational 7, and is one of those players that is simply always laddering and peaking ladder repeatedly, has some of the highest ladder peaks ever done. Fakes is definitely a player to watch out for. Fear is yet another Smogon veteran, more known for Gen 2 OU, where he is one of the best players in that format, perhaps the best. Definitely has experience in Generation 3 though, and has had periods of being quite devoted to Gen 3. In ADV Revival he placed top 8, which was an impressive result. Generation 2 seems to be a metagame where a lot of fundamental skill crosses over to other generations. We'll see if Fear can still hang with the best of the Gen 3 mates. I'm eager to see how he does. Fruhdazi is a player that started his Gen 3OU journey I think around the same time I did. I've seen his name around for a while, but had an explosive performance back in 2022, winning the Pokemon Perfect Championship and breaking many ladder records, at one point having 4 accounts on the top 5 of ladder, which is frankly ridiculous. A creative team builder. Fruhdazi's success and optimization of Celebi Spike's teams was a big splash. A lot of people started copying his team styles. And when I think of Fruhdazi, I think of Celebi and Aerodactyl. Loves those Pokemon, has had great results with them. And since then, Fruhdazi has just been solid all around with good results in SBL, ADVPL, and finishing in the top half of Callus Invitational just last year. One of my favorite players, and I wish him well in this event. Garay Oak is a name that I see all the time when I am looking for tournament replays for my videos. He seems to play every generation at every time period in history. An overall very solid player across the board in Pokemon in general. Placed top 12 in last year's Callus Invitational, but doesn't enter too many Gen 3OU tournaments from what I have seen. But definitely not a player to underestimate. Jabba is more than just a Smogon veteran. I believe he's been around even before Smogon existed, playing Gen 3OU on Net Battle. One of the oldest and most experienced players here, who has had impressive results even to this day with a top 6 finish in Callus Invitational 6. Not too long ago. Jabba is always entertaining to watch with a very flashy playstyle. One of the only people I've ever seen who brought Dodrio to a tournament game. Dodrio is my favorite Pokemon of all time, so I respect that immensely. Very happy to see him in this event and excited to take a look at his games. Kerts is another player who has been around for quite some time, known as a ladder player mainly. Kerts very much popularized Jolteon Spikes builds a few years ago and had great success with them. And I believe the most classic Jolteon Spikes teams, which is a sample team on the farms, is a Kerts team. Placed top 8 in ADV Revival and had a solid run in Callus Invitational 7 last year. Bit of a fan favorite, nice guy who always uses cool teams. Happy to have him in this event. Kristyl is known primarily as a Gen 4 player, and is one of the best Gen 4 players of all time. Began seriously playing ADV back in 2023 with impressive ladder results, and had a fantastic run in Callus Invitational 7, finishing top 12. Relative newcomer compared to some of these other players, but a fast learner evidently, and making a bit of a splash recently, so good luck to Kristyl. Always good to see these great players picking up Gen 3 and doing well. Leo is here, one of our play-ins champions, just coming off a victory against Humyum to earn his spot in the main event. With, in my opinion, a very impressive showing this tournament. Leo is mostly known for Generation 6 onwards, the modern games, but does dabble in many generations. Leo placed second in the 2022 Winter Seasonal, and I've seen him around in many different Gen 3 tournaments that I've entered myself. I've played against him in the Retro World Cup before. Last year he was also a play-ins invite for Callus Invitational, but didn't make it to the main event, so this is a first for Leo, earning a spot in the main event. I have to say I've been very impressed with what I've seen of Leo, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. pkLeech is another player that came up around the same time as Fruhdazi that I remember making some waves when I was more active in the tournament scene myself. Made a bit of a splash in the Mushi League, transitioned to bigger events, made it through play-ins in Callus Invitational, impressing everybody, and I'm happy to see pkLeech getting another chance to prove himself here. Mako is originally a Generation 1 player, but has shifted focus to Gen 3 in the past year, with a solid performance in ROAPL, another old Gen team tournament, where she achieved an impressive 6-3 record in Gen 3 OU. This will be her debut in a Gen 3 Invitational tournament. I wish her good luck. Mana is one of the most consistent players in Gen 3 Invitationals, with 2 third-place finishes and never finishing below the top half in an Invitational tournament, which is a difficult thing to achieve. The pressure's on. In Invitationals, they're high stakes. It's harder to perform sometimes, but Mana has done very well under pressure, which is particularly impressive because Mana is known for very creative and offensive teams that defy normal team building fundamentals and logic. Very off-the-wall, out-there team choices from Mana. Definitely a player to be on the lookout for if you're eager for some unique gameplay, because that's what you're going to get. I never know if it's Marco P or marcop. I'm just going to say marcop. Another one of Gen 3's most solid and consistent players. Has good results in SPL, Invitational tournaments, and various other tournaments. Finished second place in Callus Invitational 5. If you were putting money on someone winning the event, marcop would not be a bad bet. McMagan is another Pokemon GOAT contender with incredible results across many generations for a very long time. A long-time Gen 3 OU legend, came second in ADV Revival recently, has won 3 out of the last 5 ADV Cups on the Smogon forums. Many people call the Linear Curve the best Gen 3 OU player of all time. I think McMagan is one of the other people who could claim that title. Has never won in an invitational tournament though, so we'll see if he can seize this chance and take the glory. River is our other play-ins champion, just coming off a victory against Void. An absolute rising star, has been playing for less than a year, but has had incredible results in Mushi League and also in ADVPL, with a 6-2 record in the best of 3 slot. Definitely a player that could catch a lot of these veterans off guard. Has a unique playstyle, they don't have any experience playing against her. A bit of a wild card going into this event. It's going to be high pressure, it's a first invitational for River. Anything could happen. I'm eager to see it. Rob Jr. with the coolest custom avatar so far, look at this. I recall playing against Rob Jr. in ADVPL and getting absolutely destroyed. A very solid player, usually with consistent results in team tournaments. Has done well in SPL in the past few years, and also has a second place finish in the ADV Circuit Championship of 2022 to his name. Sadlysius is known as one of the best team builders in Gen 3 history, with many top players using their builds over the years. Was invited to Callus Invitational Play-ins last year, and made it to the main event, finishing top 12, a very good performance. This time around, Sadlysius has been invited to the main event directly, and we'll see if they can keep up the momentum of recent good results. Sapientia is a very old school player, has competed in SPL as early as 2010, and Sapientia was the winner of ADV Revival, coming back after a very long hiatus and kind of surprising us all with a huge win. Also competed in ADVPL recently, but had a bit of a disappointing run there, and in this event he's looking to prove that ADV Revival was no fluke and that he is still a formidable foe. Super Epic Ampharos is a player you probably recognize, has featured on my channel multiple times. Perhaps the most creative Gen 3 player, bringing some truly insane stuff to tournaments like Lunatone, Electrode, and other such nonsense. But C is a bit unpredictable as well, because sometimes she'll just bring a totally normal team. You never know if you're going to get regular Gen 3 or Wacko Gen 3 when you're playing Super Epic Ampharos. Difficult player to prepare for. Has had good results over the years too. 2022 Winter Seasonal Champion. Came second place in Callus Invitational 7 after that incredible Shedinja moment, just the prior set. Whether Super Epic Ampharos brings funny B drill or something, or brings normal teams, I will be there. I will be watching. Siglut was a teammate of mine back when I played in the Mushi League, and was very helpful with preparation and stuff. I appreciated that. And Siglut has some great results to his name. 2023 Winter Seasonal, 3rd place. A 10-2 record over the last 2 years in ADVPL, which is very good. And a round 2 exit of the Invitational last year, which was a bit disappointing. Maybe some pressure, first Invitational. But you're back again this year, fresh, something to prove. Perhaps with more preparation this time and less nerves. We'll see how you do, Siglut. Soulwind, much like ABR and McMagan, a GOAT contender of all of Pokemon history. One of the most decorated players with more tournament wins than anybody, I think. Plays all generations at a high level. Not particularly known for Gen 3, but has done really well in Gen 3 anyway. With a 2nd place finish in Kalos Invitational 6 and top 8 in the recent Kalos Invitational 7. I feel like Soulwind always brings those Magneton Snorlax teams. That's something I've noticed. Big fan of Snorlax, and it's fantastic to see such a Pokemon legend taking part in this event. Starmaster is a member of the Gen 3 Council and a storied player. Has taken part in the Smogon circuit tournaments for old generations pretty consistently, with great results. Was the champion of the 2022 ADV Global Championship and has done very well in Gen 3 Invitationals too, with a top 8 performance 4 years in a row. Most notably a 3rd place finish in Kalos Invitational 2. In the more recent Kalos Invitational though, has not had as much success. Getting knocked out pretty early, it happens to the best of us of course, but perhaps here to prove that he's still a good Gen 3 player despite those performances, which he definitely is. Triangles is a former Kalos Invitational champion, was the winner of Kalos Invitational 3, has had great results in SPL over the years, but apart from that one win in Kalos Invitational, has not been able to repeat that success in future Invitationals, but we'll see what he can do with this new chance at glory. And finally we have Watermess, someone who is known as a very creative team builder, bringing some pretty fun stuff in tournaments in the past, like Poliwrath, has built around Victory Bell, had a cool Ludicolo plus Dodrio team that I really liked. Don't know if he brought that to tournaments, but it was a cool team. And generally really good tournament results over the years. 2nd place finish in 2020, back in the Summer Seasonal for Gen 3. Finished in the top half of Kalos Invitational 7. One of those players that can be a bit hard to prepare for and a bit unpredictable, which makes for exciting viewing, doesn't it? So Watermess is one to watch out for, folks. And there it is, a little brief rundown of all our players in the main event. What a fantastic selection. Who are you folks looking forward to watching, and who do you think is going to win it all this time around? I would be eager to hear all your thoughts. Thank you, folks, and I'll catch you later.